Example 2, we have y equals 1/3 x minus 1. So again, we're going to identify our slope. So our slope is m equal to positive 1/3. So since it's positive, my numerator will tell me to go up, and my denominator will tell me to go to the right. My y-intercept will be 0, comma, and then number by itself, so -1, parenthesis. So there goes my y-intercept. Now, I'm going to make my xy table. Alright, so when you're doing the xy table, you're still safe to use 0. I'm going to put 0 in the middle. Now, since our slope has a fraction, so I repeat, since our slope has a fraction, you're going to mainly look closely at your denominator. So you're going to look at for values that are divisible by 3. So let's try find numbers that can be divisible by 3. So 1, you can try do -6. And the other one, you can do positive 9. So these are examples. You are free to use any other numbers that are divisible by 3. So I chose to use a -6, one number that's negative, and then I use 9, one number that's positive. These two numbers are divisible by 3. Now, I don't have to do any work for when x equals 0 because our y-intercept, x is 0, so I'm going to write my y value, -1. Now we're going to do the work by plugging in our x values, -6 and positive 9. So, y equal, so 1/3 times -6 minus 1. So remember, when it's a whole number times a fraction, multiply to the numerator. So it will be -6 divided by 3 minus 1. Simplify the fraction. -6 divided by 3 will be -2 minus 1. -2 minus 1 will be -3. So my y value will be -3. Now we're going to try the other y value, which is 9. So it's going to be 1/3 times positive 9 and then minus 1. So my 9 will multiply to the numerator. It will be 9 over 3 and then minus 1. Simplify the 9 over 3. 9 divided by 3 will be 3 and then bring down to minus 1. 3 minus 1 will be 2. So my y value will be 2. So I got my 3 coordinates. My first one, -6, -3. My second one, 0, -1. And my third, 9, 2. Once you get 3 coordinate points, you can plot them on the graph and then connect those dots together and get a well-graphed line. In this example, we have y equals -3/2 x, or -3 over 2 x minus 5. So we're going to identify our slope first. So m equals -3 over 2, that's our slope. Since it's negative, my numerator will tell me to go down, and then my denominator will tell me to go to the right. After that, we're going to do our y-intercept. So our first number is 0, comma, -5. That's a number by itself. Next, we're going to do our xy table. So again, it's safe to use 0 as your middle number. So if it's 0, you can actually use our y value, -5, and plug it in here. Now, just like I said before, we actually have a fraction for our slope. So you have to be very careful what you pick for your x value, or if you don't, you're going to have fraction for your y values, and that's going to be hard to graph. So repeat, if you don't pick certain numbers to use, you could have fractions for your y value, and it will be hard to graph with fraction. Now, in our slope, we have our fraction, our denominator is 2. So that means you have to pick numbers that are divisible by 2, any number. Now, rule of thumb is that you pick one value, one x value, that is the left of 0, that's divisible by 2, and one x value on the right of 0 that's also divisible by 2. But in this case, I'm going to use any numbers divisible by 2. So to see that the process on how to work with these fractions. So one number that's divisible by 2 from the negative side is -4. One positive number that's divisible by 2 is 6. So I'm using -4 and +6. So the first one we're going to use is -4. So I'm going to write y equal -3/2 times -4 and then -5. So again, whole number times the numerator. So -3 times -4 would be +12 divided by +2 minus 5. So I got a positive fraction because a negative times a negative. Next, 12 divided by 2 will be 6. Bring down to -5. So 6 minus 5 will be 1. So I'm going to write 1 over here. Next, we do the +6. So -3/2 times +6 and then -5. So again, whole number times numerator. So this will be -18 over 2 because negative times positive, and then -5. -18 divided by 2 would be -9 minus 5. So -9 minus 5 would be -14. So my y value will be -14. So once you get those three corner points, which is our first one, -4, 1, second one, 0, -5, and then last one, 6, -14, you want to plot those points on a graph, connect those dots, and get a well-graphed line. Now, again, when dealing with fractions, you can use any numbers that are divisible by 2. In this case, I pick -4 and 6 to show you how to work with any type of numbers that are divisible by 2 when working with fraction. If you had 0 in the middle, you could use -2 because that's the left of 0 and divisible by 2. And then you could also use +2, that's the number right of 0 and divisible by 2. So you could have used -2 and 2, plug it in, and then get your y values. I simply picked -4 and 6 to show you that you can use any x values that are divisible by 2 in this example and still work with fraction and still get whole numbers for our y values. So be very careful which fraction you're working with. Always check your denominator.